So the first thing, as you said, what we are going to talk about is the theory behind it.
Yeah.
So how layers come together, how structural elements are handled in ARCHLine. Can you tell us more about what we're going to look at?
We have this example. We used it in a previous episode, but now I will go deeper into the details, and I will show an example how to create such details and why and how they are handled this way, and how you can do a detailed wall slab connection. And I will also show a few things about the slabs, foundation,
yes,
and things like that. So for this reason, I have created I usually call this a conceptual model.
Like a simplified
because,
the same thing.
well, many times I also do start like this. I don't know exactly what sort of, I have an idea, but I don't know exactly, and I don't want to worry about what sort of structure I would like to use at the end. I just really literally would like to sketch things as fast as possible. So I'm using one layered walls, one layered slabs and things like that. Mm-hmm. And when I do that, they tend to connect like this. They are just literally standing on top of each other, and they just make a group of structure which generates the building itself, and then I have the rooms and everything else, so I can see clearly the surfaces, and I can create elevations and everything else. Now, when I'm over that and I know that this job is worth to go deeper, and then yes, I would like to discuss with the clients and set up the details, the layers and things like that, then that's the point when I either select one of my existing styles, I will cover that in a few seconds, or I just start detailing the existing one. So let's see first this. What happens when I already have a slab? For example, let's start with the slab. I already have a slab which has only one layer, and I would like to add more layers and create the proper connection between the...
Slight detour here.
Yeah.
Is this something that you do on a model level or on a documentational level?
Well, this can be both. Now I will show you how you can detail structure literally in the 3D. So I will literally create the model of that multi-layered slab. But at the end you will see that you don't have to always do that if you don't want to or you're not used to do. In that case, you will be able to set up details on the 2D level only if you prefer that. We will cover that in a few times 10 minutes. So, well, there is this slab here. Now, this slab, I'm modifying it in the 3D, but it's not making any sort of difference. I can make it in the 2D as well. Because that's the same thing. So now I'm in the slab properties, and I just click on the slab layers, and now I know I will just make a very, very simple example. I will just add 2 more layers to this slab. Now I have one layer which is a 30 centimeter thick layer which is reinforced concrete. If I'm adding up other layers, the software is actually just cloning the existing one. So now this time I would end up with a nearly 1 meter thick layer, which is obviously not what I want. So I just customize the layer thicknesses. There will be one with 10 centimeters. This will be the core layer. This will be the structural layer. So this will be 20 centimeters. This will be literally really reinforced concrete. And there will be something, let's just make it simple. This will be plaster, okay? So that's something like a very thin
yes,
layer at the bottom of this whole thing. So how to distinguish them? Now, as you can see, these are all having the same material. And if I would create a section, which we will cover pretty soon, they would appear as one thick 31 centimeter wide layer. So if I would like to distinguish them, first things first, of course, I need to create and add another material. So let's start with the top material. This should be, let's just change it to another type of concrete. So I can see it clearly in the 3D, and this will make change in the section as well. There is this reinforced concrete. Yeah, I'm fine with that, and this should be. Let's go with plaster. Okay, let's go with the plaster. Okay, let's
just pick something from the material library, and
well,
I think bright plaster.
Bright plaster. That's the one. Okay, so I'm having these 3 layers. There is also a name field here, and this is good because you could use these. These are more descriptive than the material name. Now the material name is bright plaster or something like that, but I can type a real maker name or something like that, because this is what I will see at the end in the quantity takeoffs and the schedules and things like that. So I can add those details, but on the other hand, there is one last thing at the end of this row. If this would be a layer, sometimes walls have cavity layers, slab also could have, and you know, the roof. So in that case, if that's a cavity layer, you can just simply disable the 3D, so you will have this see-through, non-visible layer. So yeah, this time this is reinforced concrete, so I just keep it, but this is also a way to distinguish things. And well, there is, if as you can see, there is the top and the bottom part, so this helps you orientate yourself how you create that. And there is one another indicator here, this arrow here, and this means
the core layer?
That this is the displayed layer, which is many times the core layer, but it doesn't have to be. So I just, you know, indicate that because actually it's called a visible layer because you can actually modify structure in ARCHLine layer by layer. And if you do that, let's just imagine you create a hole in this layer, but not on the rest. So you can decide whether you would like to see that contour appearing on your floor plan or not, either just by simply setting up it here, or you know, just making different other changes. But this is the best way to determine which layer contour is visible on the floor plan. So I will go with this one. And well, the rest is, I think, they speak for themselves. Yeah, you can just reorganize the content, and you can erase existing layers, and you can even flip the layer order if you forgot to create them in the proper order. So I'm just creating it by pressing OK. And now I have this layer, I mean this slab with three layers, and I can also store it in my own style. And this is where I connect to what I told before. Now I already have a few styles either because the ARCHLine.XP installed themselves by factory default, or I can also create my own styles. Styles and creation and handling of styles we already covered before. So I'm just hinting here that there's a way to store all these details into your style by simply creating a new style here.
Meanwhile, I see a question. What about the hatches of each component of slab in 2D section? We are going to talk about that later.
Yeah, don't worry.
But that's something that we plan to cover. So.
Yeah, okay, so this is how it goes. I already have this slab. Let's just go and find, okay, now I see these layers, but the connection between these two is not correct.
Not good because the wall should touch the second layer, right? So the first layer should be cut. Is that something that you have to do manually, or how does it work?
You can do it manually. Sometimes you do it manually because the connection is kind of a custom connection, not set up by rules. But now I just would like to determine as many things by setting up rules as many as I could do. So I just go to the settings of this wall as well, and let's just figure out what should I do. First things first, this wall should not start at the top of this floor surface. It should start from the top of the structure, top of the core structure. So I should change this elevation. Now I can measure this and use that value here.
Yes, or you could offset and push it downwards, or
that's fine. You can do that. Or you can use the built-in mechanism of ARCHLine, which is tailored to do this for you. So let's just go back a little bit before I just change this value here, and let's just talk about how the floor structure builds up, because this is where it all comes together. Now I have this floor structure, and now we are on the ground floor. This is the ground floor actually. So let's see how the ground floor looks like and how it connects to other levels. Now I have a basement, a ground floor, a first floor, and a flat roof. And these are all set to the same height. I can change it, and then if I set settings up well, or I just use the default settings of ARCHLine, because that's how ARCHLine also set up, I will be able to set up a flexible design. And when I change the height of the design, because we went to the site survey and we realized that we made a mistake by, I don't know, 10 centimeters, so we need to shrink the whole level, then I just have to set up one value here, and the rest will be automatically aligned if I do it this way. So just to make you understand, you don't have to change these settings project by project. These are set for your convenience, and you don't have to change them. But if we talk about this, you will understand, and if you would like to go deeper into the settings, you will be able to do that. So now what happens here? Now there's a ground floor from 0 to 3. That's from here to here. So there is an option, and it's called top of structure. And as you can see, it's here and here. It's each and every level have.
So that's the top of the structural level. In case the middle layer of the slab.
Yeah, well, actually, this is where the core layers should fall to. Like the main layer, the core layer of the wall should stand on this top of the structure. So that's where I know the top of structure is on this level, because you can change it from level to level. On this level, it is minus 10 centimeters. I'm fine with that. And actually, I could set up different settings for each and every layer. As you can see,
so
the finished floor is changing from level to level.
level to level.
Yeah. So it's giving you a generic settings, which is the majority of for that floor, and then you can go and, for example, sometimes in the bathroom there's a different layer structure, a little bit different level than the rest of the apartment, or something like this, so you can handle that custom by custom. But let's say I have this here, and that's fine. It still not did do anything because I did not set up the wall properly. So now I have two options. Either I just type minus 0.1. I will land on the proper level, but this won't follow the changes. When ARCHLine follows the changes, it happens this way. You can have structures. You can turn existing structures manually to onset. They are by default. They are all set. I just made this structure manually to onset to show you how this works. So what I do now, I just set it back how it was. It was top of structure 0. So that means it will start from the same level where the top of the slab core finish is. So let's just go and say okay and okay.
So what you did now is that you tied the bottom of the wall to the core layer.
Yeah,
but
and
it's still, it looks like it's being pushed in, but there's still like double.
Well, this is only a matter of rebuilding the 3D. When I rebuild the 3D, the connections become correct. They were just overlapping temporarily. But now they are occupying their own space, and they are proper, and the layer is at where it should be. So this way you can set up the starting point of the level, either just literally typing the value or bounding it to a value of the level. This is actually the default. Whenever you start doing anything in ARCHLine, they are all bound to the levels. And then you can actually either choose to literally type the height, or you can also just use the default settings. This is by default. It was not onset. I made it manually to onset. It was top of structure, but as you can see, the software is wise enough to understand that, okay, this should be the following top of structure, but actually, well, I was wrong. This should be the bottom of structure.
But the point is that the software already tells you that it should be the floor above it.
So this sort of connection will be automatically stitched together for you. You don't have to manually stitch these layers together. So let's say, okay, I'm done with that. Well, actually, the full height is 2.8, but the wall height visible from inside will be only 2.7 because that's the clear visible height. So this is how I can set this up. And again, this is only a one layer wall structure. But if I go here and I add another layer, let's just do that. Let's just click here.
Again, you are copying the existing layers.
So I'm copying that, and then let's say, well, this should be the external. Should be, I don't know, 8 centimeter for insulation. This should be thicker or something like that, but I'm just changing it. And this is where one part of the documentation issue comes in to be solved. How this layer is managed in the 2D drawings. This layer is cloning its fill pattern from the previous one, but you can change it, and you can say that, okay, let's just select a different pattern, and this should be something like a thermal insulation. I'm fine with that, okay? And then it looks different.
I see.
But this does not necessarily mean that this will look exactly the same in the section. That's handled, and it's intentionally handled two different ways, which you can make join, and you can make them equal. But you can also distinguish. Some countries need different settings from the 2D on the floor plan and the 2D on the section. So this is only for the 2D here, and I also changed the material. Let's just change that to thermal insulation. I think I have one here. You see, I changed it, but it didn't change anything here. So it did. These will have no effect here on the 2D. Okay. It will have an effect on the section. Okay, so now I have this, and in this case, just to again deeply understanding how I am doing this, when I created this drawing, I created, just as most of the architects would do, I created it with its outer contour. You can change this to the core layer or something like that. I usually create it by drawing the outer contour because that's usually something that I have to stick to. And whenever I make changes, I should not make my building bigger than the expected size. So that's why I drew it like that, and that's where you can see the reference line. And whenever you add the layer, it will just move inwards, so you will lose space from the interior, which can be, again, I just really need to stress out that this can be changed as well. So let's just go to the details, because I would like to make this layer overhang, so it should cover the whole thing as it is covering it here. So let's just go here.
Again, you are going to play around with the binding rules, right?
Yeah.
So you can bind things on a layer level.
Yeah.
Not only the whole wall can be bound to bottom and upper parts, but also the individual layers.
And as you can see, I can change these sort of connections from layer to layer. I can, again, just simply go here and say that the base offset, which is the bottom, should be, I don't know, minus something. I just literally type the value and then the software uses that. Or I can go here, edit that value and set something here. Like usually, well, I have a few options here. I can stitch it to the top of structure, the bottom of structure. Sometimes, or in many cases, I use the ledge, because this is a third option which I can freely control from level to level. So I just use the ledge option here. And I don't use any sort of offset, because the offset will be set in the level structure. So I just say OK, OK, and OK. And we will see some change happening. I need to update the 3D, of course. And why is that happening here? It's in the settings of the floor structure. So let's just go here.
Because that's where you define where the ledge actually is. So we see that it's minus 55 centimeters.
Yeah, so actually you can see it's here, it's appearing here. And when I modify it, let's say it was not correct, I forgot to set it up. So I need to change that. Sorry, it should be 35. That's what I wanted to say. Okay, so it's 20 centimeters smaller. So I just say OK. Then the software updates that, and if I already create the whole building with the same setting, the whole building is updated now on this level.
So this is not something that you have to update manually for every single wall.
Yeah. So that's why ARCHLine is set to be like this by default. You can freely edit any part, and you want, if you don't want to handle this sort of thing, you don't have to. You just type the values and you will be fine with those things. But by default, the software is creating structures bound to level variables, we call them. And then whenever you need to update the whole building, just imagine hundreds of walls to be updated manually, simply because you just did not make this change, so you don't have to. ARCHLine is automatically making this change, and then whenever you update a large building, ARCHLine is able to respond to that change on the whole level of the building.
What about the connection between roofs and other parts?
Well,
they work similarly?
Yeah, that's something similar. Let's just talk about the roof a little bit, just as you mentioned.
Without showing in much detail that they also have layers that you can work with.
Yeah, okay. So, but actually, the roof is an interesting item, because it has its own structure, which sometimes it's very difficult to talk about as a layer, because they're not layers. But it also has a layered structure, definitely layered structure, which is usually the thermal insulation, some sort of cavity layers, literal layers in it, and actually sometimes the tiling is also thought of as a layer. So this is something that you can build up here, and as you can see, this totally looks the same as what you saw in case of building up a slab layer system. This works the same way. You have the material setting, and the material setting controls how it looks like in the section, there is a thickness, and there's one big difference here, and that's the ending of that layer, because the roof is mostly slanted, so you need to determine whether the ending is horizontal and angled or something like something different. And of course, if there is a cavity, you can still handle that the same way here at the end of this whole setting dialog. So this is how you can set up a roof setting, and then when you make the intersection, and if these structure they find each other, they will make the connection. And we will cover soon, if you would like to fine tweak it but you don't want to model that, then there is also a solution.